Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are here, Shaheen and I, are to answer some of the questions that we didn't have a chance to on Sunday.
Yep.
There's not a lot of questions, actually.
Nope.
I'm surprised. It just kind of comes down to one or two main themes. And right off the bat, is every single detail worked out? It's a process, you know, and will change always happen? Even if we weren't doing this change will always happen.
Yep.
Change is a healthy part of life. It's a healthy part of every organization. So this is just a bigger change than most little changes that happen. But hopefully changes will always happen. So here's some of the questions that came in.
Just before, if you have no idea what we're talking about, we announced a transition between the two of us. You can go back and watch that message online. We answered questions during the service. These are ones we didn't get to.
Right. Okay. We'll go right down the list. I'm going to put two of them together, but right down the list. What is Shaheen's plan or focus for the church? I think you covered that pretty well, but you can go over it again.
Sure.
Basically, you started with what you're not going to change.
Yeah, not changing the mission, not changing our values, not changing our beliefs as an AG church. Really, the foundation of our church is not changing.
Oh, by the way, no one should change those things.
Nobody should change those things.
Jesus set them, and they haven't changed since.
So, you got to be pretty... you got to think you're pretty good to change those.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are not changing. Like I said on Sunday, if you didn't get a chance to hear, most of the changes that you will experience are probably just a result of more the difference of our personalities than anything else. Not right or wrong, just I'm a type 1 organization, like to have task lists and things spelled out cleanly. And so that's probably some changes we'll bring in the fact that the ministries we offer and the groups and everything will probably be put more into systems and processes and an easier to follow kind of next step pathway for all of us. So a big focus is going to be on small groups. We talked about that. And kind of, attend weekend service, be in a group, be generous with your resources, invite others. And just that pathway, no matter where you are, those are kind of always your next steps. So that's really the focus of the church. Not that it's changed. I mean, that's not new stuff. That's not different stuff.
Yeah. I think it's, a way for all of us to look at it. The way I look at it is this, that actually there's no new ideas. It's just how do we facilitate these things? How do we function? I, as a leader, am not very organized, and you are extremely organized. And, I just think show up and do it. And you like to have patterns and put tracks down and things like that. It's more of an organizational thing than it really is a missional change. It's not at all.
Not at all.
There will be more organization. And I think if you've been coming here for a while, as bigger the church gets, we do need more organization. I think it's a healthy thing. And that's why, part of the reason why we're doing this. With the change coming, this is going to be a very difficult question. The next question is with the change coming, we did announce that there will be a change in the leader of the children's ministry. What type of things in the children's ministry is going to change? And I can answer that one. You don't, because we haven't hired that person yet. And that will a lot be determined on the new children's pastor. Will they do fun things like Nerf Wars and Glam Jam and stuff like that? I would assume probably. And if they don't, they're going to do something even better.
Yeah.
So connecting with children, doing this stuff is going to, I expect to see the bar even raised as much as Ray Dean is so wonderful. There's no problem with Ray Dean. No. This next person is going to have a heart for kids. So I would expect children's activities to only increase.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, and now the probably something we have never addressed here at the church, and this is a good question, whether there's transition happening or not. The question is this: are there any oversight or covering outside of our church? Is there anybody above you and I that's a covering over us or a leadership over us? What if there's something between you and I or a senior leader here at the church? What if there was something very challenging like infidelity or something like that? What could happen and how would the things be taken care of and how would that be handled? The answer to that is yes. We do have oversight over us. We are an Assembly of God church. We are in a cooperative fellowship with the Assemblies of God organization worldwide. It is the fastest growing denomination in the world. It's been around since 1903, and this is, you might not hear the word Assemblies of God a lot. Some of you might be very familiar with it, but Yes, we have a district superintendent, a district office, district superintendent, or oversight over us. Every single year, nobody knows this, every single year we have to re-up and we have to resubmit to the authority over us. Every single year, after year after year, we have to submit to that. And if we don't, then our own credentials or our ability to pastor church would be taken care of or addressed very seriously.
Yeah.
So there is oversight over us, and yes, there are things that there's powers above us that would take care of any type of misconduct to that degree or something like that. And we also have our deacon board, or
I was going to say there's stuff in our
trustees,
Constitution and bylaws to handle that as well.
Legal documents that we have to operate by. So yes, the answer to that question is yes, we do have them over. It's called our own board here at the church, and also the district that we submit to.
Yep.
So yeah.
For sure.
What is going to happen to women's ministries? I think this came up because Michelle Larson, who's been our care director for so long, has not officially, but has really been overseeing the women's activities here at the church, and she's involved so much with women's Bible studies, and she's the one who's probably put on, or at least oversaw, women's activities as far as when they go on a retreat, or something like that. So what is going to happen there?
Michelle has actually been, kind of looking for somebody to transition in that role as well. And Tabitha Johnson, I don't know if you know who she is, but Tabitha is going to step into that role. Her and Michelle are kind of handing off the baton just like we are right now. I've had some conversations with her, and she's going to pretty much assume that role of leadership over the women's ministry. From our conversation so far, they're still going to do things like the, annual women's retreat and maybe a one-day sort of event thing. But men's and women's ministries both, again, just kind of a systems change, a process change.
Different way to categorize
it are really going to start moving a lot of stuff towards women's groups. So not necessarily one-off events that they're just done and they're over with, but trying to move more into a group where we can build community between people and relationships and get to know more people than just coming in and leaving on a Sunday morning. So that's the plan. It's not going anywhere. In fact, just like we talked about with kids stuff, I hope it continues to grow. And those of you that are women, I hope you feel more connected and more engaged than ever before. So.
Yeah, I think a great way to say it, and you mentioned it, a great way to say it is, I think the future of the church is going to less events, come to this one-time thing, and more of a be involved in this type of activity.
Yeah.
So there will still be a few one-time events, but there'll be far less and more. Everything is going to be an ongoing, like you say, group type of a thing. Okay. The next question is, this is probably what we've gotten the most of, just for people talking and stuff, and that is about the older and younger. I mentioned, that, hey, we both kid about it a little bit, but it's tongue-in-cheek. There's some seriousness here. I'm going to be 60 years old. Is 60 years old in our culture? Absolutely not. Does that mean people who are 60 and 70 and even 80, does that mean they have no purpose or no use? No, not at all. I just see it this way, that the purpose or the use or the value changes. And I just see myself, that I'm going to be on for 2 more years. We'll see what happens after that, but for 2 more years. And I just see that my ability here will change. I'll be able to be here to support Shaheen as he continues to lead and give him advice, things like that. I'm going to help out with discipleship, things like that. Still speaking once in a while, once a month or so, right in there. And I think people got the wrong impression, like, well, when you're 60 years old, you're no longer valuable or you're no longer good.
That's not what we meant.
No, not at all. And if that was even said or heard or taken, that is totally wrong. I just think it changes. I know that I want to write a book. I know that I want to put all of my wisdom and insight and relationship with God into overseeing, like, the church in general, and try to help pastors, not only in this church, but in other churches and that kind of thing. Because there's definitely, huge value in wisdom in older people. And I think you encouraged all the older people in our church to be involved, stay involved.
Totally.
Church isn't going to make it with just young people. What we meant by the young people thing is, and I'll be totally honest with you, and if you're my age or older, if you are honest with yourself, you will find the same dilemma that I have, and that is, I have absolutely lost track of what is it like to be a young person, 2, 3 little kids at home, trying to get them to church, both spouses working, living in this environment that we live in. I mean, older people know biblical truths and we know wisdom for people, but how do we say that wisdom in a way that they can understand it or hear it? You need to understand them. And technology, as fast as it's going, and our world is changing so much in values. Our children are growing up today.
The starting point or the launching point to get to that truth that never changes.
Whenever you're connecting with people, you want to move people, you want to draw people. We want to accomplish this purpose that we have, our mission to draw people. That drawing people is where you're closer to the event. You were raised with computers in your hand.
Yep.
You were raised with the what people struggle with today. I don't struggle with, and don't take this wrong, I don't struggle with the whole idea that there are 2 genders. I have no struggle with that. It's black and white to me. But young people today, it's not black and white. And so how do I could just say, well, that's dumb. This is the way it is. That is not how you effectively minister to people.
Yeah.
But you understand, your children are growing up where they are encouraged to choose their gender. That is just one of myriads of, did I just say myriads?
Yep.
Myriads of, see, that's a word you just don't use. All kinds of topics like that, hey, it's not like I don't know or have the wisdom or old people can't help, but it's that how to speak, how to create an environment where we can touch people where they are and bring them to truth.
Yep.
I hope you all understand that.
This is not you can't, you don't have the ability or the intelligence or anything like that anymore. I think, we've both heard that this is just kind of, known and been studied that most people have the ability to connect wherever your age is about plus or minus 15 to 20 years on either side. So just looking at our community and our church and the type of people that make, what's the biggest segment of population around us? If you look at the age ranges between the two of us, not that you can't buck the trend or whatever, but just I think wisdom is a word we like to use, like what's the wise thing to do? I think the ability to relate to a larger segment of our community, right?
Exactly. And I think that statistic even can go down to like 12 years.
Maybe,
12 years effective, communicating, drawing, attaching, connecting with people, 12 years of your age, either side. And that would put me really out of the trend. Not that I can't talk and people listen, but leading a church into change. All churches need to change. They need to stay younger. They do. And I'm still going to be here. Another question, we're going to lead right into that, and that is, Shaheen, you're not going to forget about the older members of the church, are you? I feel hurt that that's even a thought. Forget about we're not going to forget about, you're going to hate this. I'm not going to let you forget about this, old. It's everybody. We've always felt that way. It is an everybody environment. The gospel's for everybody. Everybody has a place. Everybody has a ministry. Everybody has a gift to provide, And I just think it's so important that this is everybody. This is not an age thing. However, younger people can connect with younger people. Older people can connect with older people. We've always tried to do this. And maybe there's a value why I'm going to be around for a couple of years, because we've always felt this, and I believe this to be true. We can say we value this or that, but if you don't see it on the stage or you don't see it in ministry, we're lying. And I believe that for all churches. Some churches say, "Why, we really value the young people," but there's no young person in leadership. There's no young person on the stage. And I would question, do you really value young people? And I would say the reverse is true. If we say we really value old people, that means older people. I hate calling them old people. mature people. Okay. If mature people are not in ministry and you don't see mature people around doing things and having roles of importance, then you can question the old people. But other than that, I know that our elders here are both in their 70s. Mm-hmm. And we value old and young. I mean, I hope if you've been around here, you know that. You really know that. So there's not going to be like, okay, Shaheen's coming in, he's young, he doesn't like old people. He may not like the way old people smell. I don't know, but
we're not even going there.
My brother told me he's 9 months older than me. He said, when I turned 50, he said, okay, Kevin, remember, he gave me a bottle of cologne. He said, you need this every day now because otherwise you're going to smell like an old guy. So, I don't know what that is.
Oh, my God.
You smell like an old guy. But I am really looking forward to ministry, not being the lead pastor of the church, but still doing ministry in the church and ministry all over. And,
I would say this too. I said this on Sunday, but the idea of, don't disengage. If anything, be more engaged now than ever. I remember some conversations I've had with, different guys in the past talking about men's ministry stuff, women in the past talking about, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do more for men? Why don't we do more sort of thing? And I just think I probably learned it from you telling me about your dad. Like, well, why don't you start something? Like, hey, there are plenty of opportunities. If you feel like you're older and you're worried about, getting left out, we try to tell you that's not our goal. It's not our intent, but step up. Like, there's, again, plenty of, I said, start a small group and mentor 8 younger people. Like, that is probably, I think right now, one of the best things, not the only thing, one of the best things you can do to help share your insight and your wisdom and perspective. I mean, we've only lived a short amount of life compared to you. And so don't disengage. If anything, engage more.
Yes. Please. I will be encouraging you to do that as well. Last question that we had that we did not answer on Sunday came in after Sunday. And this is a shock to me, but then I thought about it. Of course, it's not a shock. We don't talk about it enough. But it was this question. And I'm sorry I forgot to mention this in the first service. I only mentioned the second service that, Shaheen was voted on. There is a vote. And our shareholders vote on important things of the church because we are incorporated and we do have to run under certain rules. We do. It's a state law that we have to do certain things. One of those rules we run on is that it has to be passed. I can't just appoint somebody. They have to be voted on. He was voted on last March. We took care of that, and it was voted on by the shareholders. And here was a question that came in. It says, what do you mean when you say shareholders voted on Shaheen replacing Kevin? Such a title implies people who donate significantly monetarily to the church get voting rights as a privilege. That's how company shareholders work. And so what they're saying is, what is a shareholder? Sounds like people who give more money have more vote.
No.
There is a thing called shareholders, and I'm going to explain that in a second, but it has nothing to do with who gives more money. As a matter of fact, we've had a practice here. We don't have to, but we have voluntarily taken an oath to not look at what people give. We don't. There's somebody else who looks at that. There's 2 other people that are fully aware of that for specific reasons. And one of them is to become a shareholder, you have to support the ministry. And you know what? It was my idea years ago to say, I don't want people voting for the direction of this church that aren't bought in, that don't have skin in the game.
It's more than just a certain amount of giving, though.
Yes.
There's a lot more requirements.
There are requirements. Anyone can be a shareholder, but there are requirements to being a shareholder. Everyone in our church is a member. You choose to be a member.
Yeah.
We don't decide whether you're a member or not. Right. You decide whether you're a member or not. If you come here regularly, you support this place, you invite people here, you're a member of this church. But to vote, you do require, you have to be a shareholder. What does it take to be a shareholder? Really, really quick. The basic things about shareholders, you do have to financially support the work here. We suggest...
But if you support more or less, which we don't know, you don't get like more votes or...
Nope. As long as you faithfully support percentage giving, you support the ministry, that's a requirement. You have to have skin in the game in order to vote. One person can give $50,000 a year and one other person $4,000 a year. They both got the same vote. Okay, so it's not that. Another one is a requirement to being a shareholder is you have to be actively involved in ministry, any kind of ministry. from a greeter at the door to a musician on the stage to teaching kids, whatever it might be.
Yep.
You have to be engaged in ministry. Again, you have to have skin in the game in order to vote on such important things. Another one is to support, to be in unity. We just really require unity. You have to just basically tell us, hey, I am in unity with this church and I will support this church. And if I have a problem, I'm going to go to the leadership. I'm not going to go to my neighbor. There's some simple things. Anyway, there's like 6 or 7 requirements. You have to be a Christian person, things like that. Anyone can be a shareholder.
Yep.
Has nothing to do with how much money you give. You just have to be a supporter of the church, and you have to actually sign your name saying, I am a part of this church. And I am about making this church
just like
grow.
in the district, we have to re-up.
Yes.
Every year, shareholders re-up and still say, yep, I still support. Yep, I still give. Yep, I'm still in unity. I still believe in the fundamental truths of the AG, all that sort of stuff. So,
and we do not talk about shareholder enough, and I do apologize for that. That is one of the things we're in the process of changing now with your organizational. I won't be negative here.
Skills is the word.
Skills, okay.
That's the word.
Skills is the word I was looking for. Put more organization to this, and so you can be a shareholder. We welcome you to be a shareholder. And I guess that's about all of the questions that came in that we didn't answer.
If you still have more that you thought of some, you can email either of us personally. Our email address is on our website.
Yeah.
So, but otherwise,
talk to us in church.
We've still got, anytime change comes up, I think it's uncomfortable for any of us, just as human beings. Even if it's a good change, it doesn't matter. It's just, we resist change. The nice thing about this, and the reason we wanted to tell you now, is we still have a couple months to work through this and process this together. And you don't have to have all your questions in this week. We've got months to kind of give and take and feel this thing out and keep moving forward together as a church.
Yes.
So.
If you don't agree with this next statement, please talk to us. But we both believe that this is shifting at the right time to get the maximum horsepower that we can in regards to the church. The church needs to grow in the next decade or 2 or 3. We need to. And as I look at churches, I mean, just my personal view, but it's this. Churches just make changes way too slow. We're all so comfortable where we are. And if this makes you uncomfortable, that's probably a good thing. Serious. Makes me uncomfortable. Makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, there are parts of it.
That we need to be uncomfortable, to stay on the cutting edge, to be... You know what? God's never called us just to do church to do church. He's called us to be effective.
Yeah.
To make a difference. And we want to do that the best that we can. So, yes, like Shane said, any other questions, let us know. But thank you for tuning into this. And God bless you, and we'll see you on Sunday.